One of the biggest rookie mistakes I see is showing up unprepared and blowing your one shot. To help you avoid that, I created an on-demand masterclass that walks you through the 2 frameworks that you need to launch a thriving career as an independent adjuster. And you can register right now at adjustertv.com/deployment. Every adjuster thinks they'll just grind harder to get ahead, right? Work longer hours, push through the pending claims, sleep less. But listen, no matter how hard you push, the work expands, and before you know it, you're going to be buried behind and questioning if this career is even worth it. That's the snowball that once started, it's almost impossible for new adjusters to stop. My name is Matt, and over the last 26 years, I've helped thousands of adjusters not only break into this career, but build the kind of systems and workflows that separate the ones who burn out from the ones who build 6-figure businesses. And in this conversation, FTD certified adjuster Eric reveals the exact moment he realized muscling through just wasn't enough, and the surprising adjustments that transformed how many claims he could actually close without falling behind. Starting now. Mark your calendar, January 25th through 29th, 2026, the National Association of Catastrophe Adjusters annual convention is back at the Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant, Oklahoma. It is the annual gathering for the claims adjusting world, bringing adjusters, industry leaders, and service providers together for training, networking, and innovation. Don't miss your chance to connect, learn, and move your career forward. Register right now for the 2026 NACA convention at nacaadjuster.org right now, because early bird pricing ends October 31st.
Our job is relying on weather to make money. And if Mother Nature's taking a nap, here we are, and that's kind of what seems to be happening this year. And it's tough, right now it's starting to get tough, but there's always seems to be something that comes up, but it's just getting your foot in the door to begin with, which is necessary. I got lucky, but knowing what I know now, sorry, I'm kind of going back on a question you said earlier, fine. But knowing what I know now, I really think that you really need some sort of a course that is connected to not necessarily a carrier, but to an AllCat or to a Sedgwick or something like that, because that's the only way you're really going to get noticed, because then they know that you've done some training, you put some time in getting some understanding of what the job is. I just got super lucky that they needed me, right? And that my first deployment went really well, so they wanted to keep me going. So, yep. But if that wouldn't have happened, if Buffalo wouldn't have gotten sunk in snow my first year, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So taking some of those courses, taking your course or taking any, right, so that you're connected in the bigger world seems to be the only way to really kind of get in on this field.
The #1 resource for damage identification books, trainings, and certifications is Hague Education. Not only that, but they provide building inspection and desk adjuster trainings and certifications. Get a discount on all books, tools, certifications, and other trainings with code AdjusterTV at checkout at HagueEducation.com. There's only one company that provides E&O and general liability solely to the insurance industry, and that's Kaplik. They even have drone and cyber coverages. Download the free guide all about the different kinds of insurance that you as the adjuster should carry at cplic.net/AdjusterTV.
Another thing that you say too is that, like, was it 2 years ago? Was it last year, 2 years ago? There was 3 times that I was like this close to going, and I'm on a list, right? Like, I'm not even like, nope. And they called everybody off, right? Two hurricanes hit Florida and almost everybody got told to go home, So even though the hurricanes is something that is normally something that hits the States, but you say all the time, like, you can see it coming and then it just turns all of a sudden, right? So it's the other thing too that's kind of really unsettling is just that our job is weather, and hurricanes, while we'll probably get one to hit, that's not a guarantee ever either, There's been years, I imagine, that hurricanes have never hit the United States, or at least not enough so sure. It's hard. This job is hard, and be ready for that. But and I am, I'm watching the tropics, but yeah. So and the hurricanes made me a lot of money last year. So
Yep. Well, we'll see what happens. So, one last question for you. Um, do you have you noticed or heard about artificial intelligence stuff like having an impact on your work?
No, I haven't heard that much about it. So I guess my comment to that is that I still think at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to be somebody that's holding on to the past, but and maybe artificial intelligence might be something that can start to look at us, but somebody still has to go in and take the pictures, right?
Yeah.
Somebody still has to put your finger on the roof to make sure that that's a hail spot. And I don't think there's any picture that can truly define whether you have hail without being on the roof, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I really think that even though there may be some artificial intelligence, um, I have a feeling that that would be difficult considering some of what I've heard about lawsuits with insurance companies of like, well, you used a computer to figure this out. Why didn't you send somebody out and look at it? Right.
Right. Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I've only been doing this 3 years, and here's the other, another tangent. I apologize, and I'll try and remember to come back to
Go for
this.
it.
When I got 2 years in, I was like, wow, I'm starting to get some experience. You're still considered new for 4 years, if not more
Right.
in this field, right? And I have to keep reminding myself that all the time of like, well, I wonder if I should try something different or something. But then you go and you're like, and you're hearing all these people that are like, well, I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm still learning stuff, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I'm really speaking from an experience when you ask me this question. I know that the drones came out and everybody was like, let's use drones for this job. But I really do believe that for hail claims, a drone isn't going to do anything. It's going to take a picture of
No.
a spot on the roof. And the other thing too is that when you get up on a roof and you're doing a hail claim, there's so much that you see by looking at the light a different way, taking a flashlight up with you for the fascia, that without a human being on site, I mean, they may figure out a way to make it work at some point, but I just don't, I just think you still need a human being at some point to go out and look at stuff. So,
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Maybe when
but
the robots come.
yeah, but there are also a lot of times that I go out and somebody will be like, well, this is my second claim I put in, and before I just sent a bunch of pictures in and they sent me a check. So, there is stuff happening out there where people just send pictures in and they just like, okay, we'll send you
Yeah.
a check for that, and I suppose how straightforward it is, right? So, or it seems like that they're starting to use, I've seen this a couple of times where using some of the ladder assists to get some of the pictures for them, and then they're
Yep.
making a decision back in the desk. Um, but yeah, so as far as the AI is concerned, I haven't really heard much about it. Um, but I really feel at the end of the day that there's just going to be some things that they still need us for.
One last question, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, or at least not specifically, but do you with the kind of the most typical work that you do, the typical claims, are you doing fee schedule or are you they just paying you a flat fee just to go out and photo and scope and write?
It's fee schedule.
Okay.
Here's the other weird thing about my job is so there is just like scope only, right? Like
Right.
that's a thing. What I'm doing is more than that, right? I'm going out, I'm making a decision what's damaged. Uh, I'm putting in an Xactimate, and it seems like 95% of the time the decision I've made is what seems to be what the homeowner gets, right?
Yep.
So I have to write up an Xactimate. I have to document all of my findings. So basically the desk adjuster's getting a package is they can just go back to the homeowner and be like, this is what we're doing. So that's why it's super important that, that I am doing more than just simply scoping. I'm actually identifying this as damage. And actually, to go back to the question that you asked me earlier, which is, oh, but what do I talk to the insured about, right?
Yep.
Is that when the insured is pushing me of like, well, like I just went to couple days ago, and this was a water main broke in their house, the main itself, and got water everywhere. And so the when that happened, they're like, so this was a basement area with a really old wooden floor, and I just kind of went in there, and they're like, well, I feel like there's mold under this floor, right? And I'm like, sir, please understand that what I'm submitting has to be something I can take a picture of, right?
Right.
It can't. So that's the conversation I really have with them when they're trying to push me on something to write for something and understand, like, look, my job is just here purely factual. If something is damaged, I take a picture and put it in. If you really don't like that, what you see at the end, just make sure you have a conversation with the desk adjuster about that. But, I can't submit something if I don't see damage. So I have that conversation a lot of times too. Because they'll be like, you know, well, you need to take a picture of this. And because this, or I feel like, and I'm like, well, where's the damage? And that's actually one I use with the public adjusters a lot too, right? You need to take care of this door for me. Okay, can you point to the damage or contractors on the roof? Well, there's all this damage up on the roof. All right, show me your hail spots, right? Well, they're on here. Like, okay, let's go to one. Let's talk about the one that you feel is hail, and let's look at that together, right? So that's kind of what I usually do, and what has really been saving me, especially against. I haven't done too many lawyers. I think I've done one or two, but against the public adjusters is like, look, I'll write for it and agree with you if I can take a picture of it. But if
Yeah.
I can't take a picture of it, some public adjuster for 20 years took me out to a fire and he went and wrote all of this stuff up. And I'm like, I walked into literally one room that had no damage in it. And he had the whole room gutted. And I'm like, point to something in this room that I can write for. And he looked at it, I was like, oh, never mind about this room. So that's really what has saved me and made this so clear to me. Every time that I go into a situation, every job is exactly the same. What is damaged and what do and then I can write for it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter how big or small the job is. It's always the same. You walk up to the house, what's damaged, I'll write for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I always said was, you know, I have to have something I can take a picture of, and I'd follow that up with I have to prove the loss one way or the other. So if I'm saying there's no damage, I have to prove that. If I'm saying there is, I still have to prove that too. I can't just come out and just say, write it up, and just start flinging checks out. So, but yeah, very interesting, Eric. And this is a cool conversation. Any final questions or anything before we go?
I guess the one thing that I wish somebody would have told me when I was starting this is and there's no way to know this until you get started, but this job is really hard. It's very, very hard, and you have to be ready. And I think you do speak to this you have to be ready you have to have some grit to do this job, right? Because I actually had a desk adjuster once. Well, I don't know. They were more of a QAer / desk adjuster type hybrid position, but they were like, because I was kind of having a hard day, and I kind of said that to them, and they're like, Eric, everybody in this field just you can't. This is a very passive aggressive field. Nobody's going to give you any sort of pats on the back. You have to be willing to jump in this field, get the stuff done, and when somebody criticizes you, you fix it and then you move on with your day, right? Because there's very little positive feedback in this job. It's all like, hey, you did this wrong, right? And oh, you're not doing it fast enough, and you need to be doing it more. So the reward is for me. Well, besides the check, which usually gets to be pretty substantial, is really spending a couple minutes with the homeowners. I've seen some really neat things in my lifetime, well, in the last 3 years of going into people's houses of things that they wanted to share with me, and there's
Yeah,
some really neat people out there. So,
for sure.
I find a lot of comfort in that. It's also very lonely. So try and find ways that you're talking to your spouse when you're driving, or, a friend, or, maybe another IA, and you met each other at a thing, but find ways to make yourself not lonely, because it's kind of a lonely field, you know? So,
Absolutely.
so those are the two things. Is be prepared for how hard it is. And no matter how hard somebody tells you it is, it's worse. And then,
Right.
and then you have to get used to it and realize that this is just a field where you're just going to be constantly, people are going to be giving you stuff to do, and all they're going to say is you didn't do it right. And that's the only feedback you get. And then you hand it in. That's not true. I'm overstating it, of course. I'm overstating it, but it is hard. And there is a lot of times where I'm like, can somebody tell me something positive today? The they're rough for me sometimes.
If it's quiet, then you're doing everything pretty much right.
That's what everybody tells me. So
Yeah. You're not
that's
going to
the
hear
only.
about it when you do it. I mean, sometimes you get a pat on the head. When you get a letter or a card or something like that, like an insured sends that into their agent, and then they, you know, it gets back around to your manager, and they call you and they say, hey, just want to let you know, you have so and so over blah 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 street. They sent a card, even though you had to deny their claim, and they felt like you did a great job, and you know,
Yeah,
blah blah blah. That kind of thing happens every now and then. So.
yeah,
But all right, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate you jumping on with me, and be safe out there. And you know,
absolutely.
if if we get a hurricane and you get deployed to it, maybe we'll loop back around later this year or early next year or
Sure,
something like that and talk about your
sure.
experiences. But yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise,
And buy yourself all the safety equipment you can possibly get for being on a roof, because
yes,
you're going to get some scary ones. Doesn't matter where you go, there's always one. It was really important to me to be here today so that I understood that those things better, through your videos and through watching that stuff, because you are legally representing. And actually, one of the reasons why I have to make sure that I do not say that this is covered, because if I do, my understanding of that is if I say, yeah, I think you got the roof, that just became about roof for the insurance
you
company.
just committed to it. Yeah, committing to
Because somebody
coverage.
could
Yep.
take the insurance company to court and said, Eric said that they think that the roof is, so you have to get it to me because I'm representing the insurance
Yep.
company. So it was really important to me that I was under what can I say to the insured when I can't say to the insured, and your videos helped with that, right? So being here today was really something that I wanted to do, because giving back to this community, and even if, to even have somebody understand what starting this is like a little bit better, because that's the piece that was terrifying, that all of a sudden you're
Yep.
like, wait a minute, I just got 30 claims in 2 seconds. What do I do? You know, and you just don't know, because the first time is terrifying. So that's why that's why I was really glad to come back here and kind of be here for you again. But those first videos of where you do get into it, and you obviously have the experience to talk about what should you be saying, what should your write-up look like, that write-up is very important. You are telling a story through your narrative, through your GLR, through, I don't know, I've heard like 3 or 4 different things, but whatever it is that you have 3 pieces that you have to do that you're responsible for. You have the photo piece, you have the piece where you're writing up the estimate, and you have that very important piece of the GLR or the narrative. And that narrative is, I put everything in there, right? This is what I saw. This is who was there. The insured said this, because I want that desk adjuster to be prepared. When they're calling the insured, and understanding that the insured's going to be saying, hey, they really want that floor, because they were talking about that, but I'm not putting it in my write up. Just be aware of that, right? So all my reasoning, so that's where you put all of that. And I have gotten kickbacks before where, more than once, my photos, my write up for my rooms, and my estimate didn't match. I've gotten kickbacks just for that before. So it's so important that you understand how to do this stuff when you're going into this. And so these videos and some sort of a training is so important. I just thought of one more thing that's really important to know. Here's the other hard part of this, at least what I'm doing. I am working, and I've actually worked for Ebrels too a little bit. Um, that was getting really hard, and I think that one of the reasons why I hope that I don't have to do daily for a bunch, because even with AllCat, I'm doing 15 different insurance companies, and AllCat has brought in other IA firms as part of under their fold, but they still kind of maintain their individuality. So I'm writing for 15 different insurance companies. If I was doing Ebrels with 2 different IA firms with multiple different,
Claims management
yes, or
systems.
claim management systems, it's like almost impossible to remember everything that you're supposed to be remembering for this job. You're going to get
Right.
kickbacks, right? And that's kind of the way I look at it, is I do the best I can, but at the end of the day, when I've done 10 insurance companies today, and I forgot that, Nationwide wants to, seal first and then paint, and then the other one wants to do a whole wall, and another one wants to do, one wall, and, it's just, it is constantly a struggle to try and manage all of that, so that's the hard part, is to, reading all of the, understanding. And that's why I really like working for primarily one carrier and I think I do a better job when I'm working primarily for one carrier. But, when you go into this field, you're working for a whole bunch of different criteria, and they can be different from the same thing can be different in two different cases. And
Oh yeah.
that's another hard part of this too, which you just start to develop like a sheet that you're like, okay, if these are the 8 different things that I always see that I need to make sure that I write for, and for Liberty Mutual or for USAA, these are the things that USA want to do, so just kind of pay attention to that and realize that that's another hard part of this job, is that you're going to get 15 different directions for exactly the same thing. And
Yeah.
and that's another reality of this too.
Yeah, and you have to do it the way they want you to do it, even if it's different than that one you just did. That's not a hill you want to die on. There are really very many hills to die on. And if you want to see how much adjusters really can make, whether you stick with daily or catastrophe, watch this video right here. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great storm.